What most people don't realize is that sports specialties weren't simply pioneers within an industry, they actually created the industry. Before sports specialties were around, no one had even heard of licensing contracts with pro sports teams. Warsaw's family-run business started small. While they did establish the first ever licensing agreement with a pro sports team in the USA with the Chicago Cubs, they started out making just a few novelty goods like ashtrays and bobblehead figures. But sports specialties quickly learned the value of such agreements and expanded its product range swiftly. By the 1960s, the company had grown considerably and become not only the first official licensee of the NFL, but also official locker room suppliers for huge sporting events like the NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, and the NCAA Final Four. By the 1980s, licensed sportswear was beginning to take a hold on the American market in a big way. Until then, there had never been a large market or considerable interest invested in licensed gear. But thanks to a combination of increased marketing, the rise of sporting superstars like Michael Jordan, an increase in demand from overseas, and iconic pop culture advocates like NWA, the licensed sportswear market exploded into the 1990s. By '92, the sports headwear industry alone was worth $1.5 billion, and sports specialties owned a good portion of that. Sports Specialties' signature series was the Pro Line script model. The series was also referred to as the coach cap or the game day hat because these were the models that were always given to the professionals, whether they were on the touchlines or in the press room on draft day. The first style of script hat was the hat with the single line scripture. This design dates back to the early 80s and is probably the most sought after style of vintage snapback out there. Find an LA Raiders single line script in new condition, you've got yourself an easy $300. The design was clean and simple, typically on a 100% wool, single color hat. The hats were rarely embellished with more than the Associated Pro League logo on the side. The marked-up model of the Sports Specialty script series became known as the double line script hat. The snapback has the same style scripture, only the font was neatly outlined by a second thread. These hats were often two-tone, made from either cotton twill or wool blend, and the second stitching color often matched the color of the brim. Not every team fitted the formula for the series perfectly. Some teams' logos were so inextricably associated with the team and its merchandise that Sports Specialties felt obliged to accommodate those teams a little differently. These select teams, it was deemed, couldn't simply be represented using the same uniform scripture as every other hat in the series. For example, the marked Orlando Magic script snapback includes the NBA team's trademark Magic star in the logo, while the NY Giants script is simply the team's regular, trademarked logo stitched onto the Sports Specialties hat. A few other interesting pieces include the workout cap see a couple pictures up, another script variation, given its name from its unique heather texture aimed to replicate the speckled gray of a gym shirt or tank. Leather script hats also arrived with the double line script series, but these hats feature an adjustable buckle on the back rather than a snap. A few, very limited run script hats like one with a suede bill are also around in very tiny numbers. The fact that the script snapback hat became so wildly popular is quite surprising when you consider that most of the hats in the series don't include the team's actual logo. I mean, if you're going to a store to buy a product to show your support to your team, you generally want that piece of merchandise to have your team's logo on, and not just the name of your spelled out in a generic typeface. It just goes to show the influence that the pros have on marketing. Get the superstars wearing the product and the fans will follow suit. But that's not to say the design isn't one of the very best, because obviously it is. That's why the Sports Specialties script hat is the most knocked out style of any snapback hat. Back in the 90s, there were a bunch of different companies, some licensed, some totally bootleg, that made hats based on the signature Sports Specialties series. Take this early 90s AMCAP brand snapback for example, a total copy of the single line script.